Paris by Ubisoft for a bit of hot melee. We got to try out 3 new classes, some single player and a new multiplayer mode. In this video, we're going to take a little peek at the new classes. The Warlord is the first class I'm going to show you because Vikings, yeah? There is no female variant for this class, as much as I'm sure we'd all like a lovely shield maiden. Essentially, this guy is a double hard bastard with a sword and a shield. Slightly mirroring the Knight's Conqueror class, but the Warlord has his own unique playstyle. Complementing the Warlord's tankiness is his shield, which makes blocking in every direction quite a dream indeed. At first, I struggled with his range a little, being used to playing the Viking Raider class, but once I got a feel for him, he quickly became one of my favourites. The shield plays well into the role of a Viking, it being as much an object for attacking as it is for defence. Similar to the Raider, he has a charging attack which can be used to throw enemies a fair distance, leading to some excellent kills. Perks for the Warlord seem heavily orientated around health regeneration or damage reduction. He has a few outlier perks such as a bear trap, the ability to damage through blocks, and an area denial firebomb. But what I found most compelling was stacking perks into as much health as possible, turning him into some kind of Viking T-1000. One of his last perks is the ability to revive himself without needing another player. This could really come in handy in some clutch multiplayer games. I really do enjoy this class. He's not quite as deadly as the Viking Berserker, but still packs a punch. His shield makes him very durable, whilst also having utility for displacing enemies with the charge and even knocking them to the ground. Oh, and if he's not executed, he can self-revive. What's not to like? The second new class is the Honourable Shugoki! Slow-moving character with Dark Souls-esque fat-rolling dodges who hits like an articulated lorry. Built like a man you'd expect to see in the sumo ring, the Shugoki does not have a female variant. Power and might make the Shugoki an immovable bludgeoning fiend. His giant mace can be swung as an unblockable attack from any direction. If the Viking Warlord was a double hard bastard, then this guy is a triple hard bastard. Besides his giant mace of honourable samurai judgment, he also uses his head. Well, to headbutt and briefly stagger opponents. Cleaving in large arcs with his heavy attacks, he can quite happily deal scary amounts of damage to enemies that happen to be grouped up. Not to mention a longbow that absolutely minces any foe that dares to stand remotely near you. Mirroring his fleshy visage, perks for the Shugoki include being able to throw enemies further, be unable to be parried or thrown, making him quite the deadly foe for a Viking Berserker, all coupled with durability, such as taking reduced damage the lower his health gets, passive health regeneration out of combat, and things like Iron Lungs, which give the Shugoki the ability to sprint even when out of stamina. This is particularly useful as his heavy attacks can gobble down his stamina fairly fast. The Shugoki is a fun character to play, but sometimes frustrating due to his high stamina consumption and lack of mobility. Presuming you're running the perk that makes you unable to be parried or thrown, you should have no problem troubling down the Viking Berserkers and the Knight Peacekeepers for breakfast. What is a Peacekeeper, you might ask? Well, last but definitely not least, the Peacekeeper is a female-only knight class who has mild similarities to the Viking Berserker. Dual wields her weapons, and so cannot permanently block and must parry attacks. She also has a nice bleed effect thrown onto the end of some of her counters and moves. Movement and speed play a lot into this character. The Peacekeeper is very nimble, her guard break being some kind of bicycle kick to the face of her opponent. She's also quite brutal and wastes no time in dispatching enemies with high damage combos and bleed status effects that ensure an enemy perishes even if they escape your grasp. From what I've seen, she has one of the best dodges in the game. She's able to close the distance to an enemy, attack and then withdraw very swiftly, making some of the bulkier, slower classes have to think more carefully about when to time their swings and attacks. She's not just a pretty iron mask and a pair of deadly swords though. She also has a set of tools at her disposal via the perks, notably a crossbow and some grenades. Speaking of perks, the Peacekeeper has some particularly crafty ones. A very useful perk, Stealth, makes her hidden from the HUD and radar, as well as disabling any aim assist on her. Sharpened Blade I think can be a handy little buff, giving all of your attacks bleed effects, further compounding that ability from some of her other moves. Finally, the Last Laugh perk drops a high damage grenade on death. Similar to Call of Duty or Junkrat in Overwatch, this can give you the sweet satisfaction of victory even in death. I would say that the Peacekeeper, like the Viking Berserker, is slightly less forgiving to a newer player, due to the need to correctly time parries. She requires intelligence and cunning to know when to attack and when to get out of there fast. She deals high damage, has some nice bleed effects, and very nice mobility, which makes her a deadly little fox in the right hands. I think overall my favourite of the three has to be the Warlord. Whilst the Shugoki appealed to my meat-tank melee approach to hack and slash or beat-em-up games, the Warlord with his mighty beard and tanky perks allowed him to take the cake. Let me know which was your favourite hero in the comments below. And if you'd like to see some more of these classes in action, then check out Tommy's video on the new multiplayer mode, Elimination. Or if you'd like to see what the single player has to offer, then